Hello everyone, so welcome again to another video of biological concepts. So for today, we will going to talk about another organ system. So after we discuss the nervous system, so the next organ system that we will going to discuss here in this video is the endocrine system. So basically, or the hormonal system in other books. Alright, so basically we will going to discuss here the parts and function of this organ system called the endocrine system. So with that, let's get started. Okay, so before we go to the main topic of this particular video, so let's compare the endocrine and then the nervous system. Alright, so the nervous system sends electrical impulse or electrical signals, which is also known as the action potentials. Yeah. So, and in counter on that, or in the other side, the hormonal system sends out hormones or chemical substance in order to reach their target organs. Alright, so what's the difference? The nervous system travels faster, so because it is an electrical signals, it travels faster than the hormones or the chemical substance which is secreted by the endocrine system. Alright, so aside from that, even though they are slow, their effect on the body is widespread. Alright, so most of them are have widespread effect in the body, while others are localized effect. Alright, so that's the difference between the nervous and then the endocrine system. Now, the impulse are transmitted by neurons. Alright, so action potential travels through neuron to neuron. And next one, the hormone or the hormonal system use hormones which is transported by the blood system, so mainly the arteries. Alright, so meaning to say that the hormones are secreted and being transported using the blood system. Alright, next one. As I've said earlier, that the nervous system have quick responses and the hormonal system technically have slow responses. But in terms of effect, this is widespread. Alright, so this is widespread while the other one is localized. Alright, so these are the first three differences between nervous and hormonal system. Other differences, like there are the response of your nervous system is short-lived, which means after the action potential has been delivered to the effector, it will gradually disappear. Meanwhile, the hormonal system, the responses can be short-lived or long-lived, depending on what situation, all right, the hormonal system is used for. All right, for example, growth. All right, so growth, in that situation, the hormonal system can be, the response in the hormonal system is long-lived. All right, for example, you are under stress. That's the time that the hormonal system response is somehow short-lived. All right, next one. The nervous system can be voluntary or involuntary. So we talked about this one last time. We have the somatic nervous system and we have the autonomic nervous system. Alright, next one, the hormonal system is always involuntary. So, meaning to say that this endocrine system or the hormonal system works hand in hand together with the parasympathetic nervous system or parasympathetic division of the autonomic nervous system. So, sympathetic. Alright, so alright, parasympathetic, and also we will not forget also with the sympathetic nervous system. Alright, so it works together with the autonomic nervous system to perform involuntary work. Alright, so meaning to say that the hormones are secreted involuntarily. Next one is the nervous system is localized. Alright, so as I've said earlier, so the effect of the response of the nervous system is somehow localized, so in one area, and in the hormones, it affects more than one target organ. For example, growth. Alright, so the thyroid organ affects the bones, the muscles, and other organs in your body that is responsible for growth. For example, another one is the adrenal gland. So it may target the liver, it may target the digestive system in order to do its particular function. Alright, so again, these are the second batch of the difference between nervous system and the endocrine system. Alright, so with that, let's define what are hormones. Alright, so the main, the star here in the endocrine system, so the endocrine system will not be called as endocrine system without hormones. So basically, hormones are chemical substances that are produced by the body, alright, that influence the growth, development, and activity. So whatever it is, growth, alright, emergency purposes, reproduction, and other stuff, it is the hormones or these substances called hormones does that for us. Alright, so some hormones can trigger reaction to specific target cells. So meaning to say, there are hormones that boss around other organs. Alright, so organs specifically on the endocrine system. Alright, so there are some hormones that instruct other organs of the endocrine system to secrete other hormones. Alright, so, and these hormones again will go to its target cells, and this reaction is somehow will trigger certain effects in the body. Alright, so these are hormones. What are the function of the hormones? Alright, so we have myriad of function here of hormones. So it depends on what kind of hormone it's produced and what kind of organ did the hormone, or what kind of organ the hormone came from. Alright, so in some cases, hormones can be used in reproduction. In some instances, like the pancreas, the hormones can be used as metabolism and the energy balance. So, for example, sugar metabolism, something like that. Next one, the growth and development, like the thyroid gland, yan. The parathyroid gland for body defenses. Most of the hormones controls the homeostasis or the water level of the body, and sometimes hormone interacts with other organ system. That's how they are designed. All right, they are designed to interact with other organ system. All right, so with that, that is the function of the hormones. All right. Where are the hormones produced? None other than the hormones are produced in the endocrine glands, or we call those endocrine glands as the ductless gland. All right, why ductless? Because they don't have any pathway, they don't have their own pathway to make these hormones travel on that pathway, but they secrete their hormone directly to the bloodstream. So hence they are also known as ductless glands, alright, or endocrine glands to be exact. Alright, so where are hormones produced? Again, called ductless glands. Alright, so not all hormones are created the same. So there are hormones that are water soluble, and there are hormones that are lipid soluble. Alright, so to make it easier to understand, so the cell has what they call cell membrane. So this is the cell membrane. Alright, so it depends. Alright, it depends upon the class of this hormone, how will it interact with the cell membrane. Alright, so if it is water soluble, so as we all know, the cell membrane is made up of a lot of lipids, so it will not be able to enter inside the cell membrane. But instead, on the cell membrane, there is a receptor on that particular cell membrane that is waiting for that water soluble hormone. Alright, so when the hormones pass through, and then it will attach to that receptor, then that's the time that it can go inside the cell. Alright, so that's the amino acid. So are water-soluble hormones. Meanwhile, the lipid-soluble hormones are hormones that can easily pass through the cell membrane. As we all know, like dissolved slide. Alright, so this is the lipid-soluble hormone, and it will enter gracefully inside the cell membrane. And the receptor, instead of on the cell membrane, the receptor of these hormones are located inside the cell membrane. So once this hormone enters here, it will go to that receptors, then and binds to it, and then it will release its effect, or it will do its effect to that certain cell. All right. So again, there are two kinds of hormone. We have the water soluble and lipid soluble, and it depends on how they interact with the cell membrane. Alright, so that's it, the chemical classes of hormones. Alright, so we go now to the parts or the anatomy and physiology of your endocrine system. So we have here the glands and their hormonal secretion. Alright, so the overall view of your endocrine system. So this is the organs that are found mostly in the endocrine system. So as you can see, they are small compared to other organs in our body. So these organs are small and they are scattered on the body. So these are the organs or endocrine organs found in the head, found in the neck, found in the abdominal region, and in the pelvic region. Most of the time, the one that is found there is the reproductive organs. So reproductive organs are also part of the endocrine organs or endocrine system as well. So as you can see, they are small and they are also rogue. Alright, so they are also rogue. The reason why they are scattered, yan, so because they are rogue organs that can easily dispose their secretes their hormones directly to the blood system. So that is why they are scattered for easy transport of these particular hormones. Alright, so to start with, so we start first with how should I say this? The one that controls other endocrine organs. So this is the part where nervous system and endocrine system meets. All right. So we call that part thalamus. Yeah. So sorry, not thalamus, but it is hypothalamus. All right. So hypothalamus is found in the forebrain. So inside the cerebrum. So it functions as it regulates the hormones secreted by the pituitary gland. So mainly it works as part of the nervous system, but as it does, it controls the endocrine system on when and where they will secrete their hormones. Alright, so what are the hormones that they release? So it is a long word. It is called the releasing hormones and also the inhibiting hormones. So which means that they can this part can release hormones that allow other organs in the endocrine system to release hormones. And also, this one this hypothalamus can release hormones that can inhibit endocrine organs to releasing their hormones. All right, so that is the hypothalamus. Okay, so mainly it is found in the nervous system, but it works as a control system for the endocrine glands. Now it is found here. So this is the hypothalamus somewhere here. Yan. So as the arrow or as the pointer is shown, as the pointer shows here. Yan. So this is the location of the hypothalamus. All right, next one. Alright, so the master endocrine gland is the pituitary gland. This is the endocrine gland which is controlled by the hypothalamus. So without the instruction of the hypothalamus, basically this pituitary gland does not function, will not function or will not do its function. Alright, so the pituitary gland is located just below, posterior to the hypothalamus. Alright, so it is the hypothalamus here, and then the pituitary gland it's very small. Alright, but from its small size, it secretes a lot of hormone that controls other endocrine organs. So meaning to say, it will get all the instruction from the hypothalamus, then it controls other endocrine organs. So in an MRI, we can see, or in a CT scan, we can see the pituitary gland somewhere located somewhere here. All right. So next one, if you take out a pituitary gland, so it will look like this. So it is around 1 cm in dimension. So well, as expected, it's it's very small. All right, but its function, although it's very small, its function will affect most of the body's processes. Right, so that's the pituitary gland. Okay, so in the pituitary gland, it is also divided into two locations. So we have the anterior pituitary gland and we have the posterior pituitary gland. Alright, so meaning to say, since it is divided into anterior and then the posterior pituitary gland, it tells us that both of these pituitary organ, or this particular part of the pituitary gland, secretes different hormones and targets different organs respectively. Alright, so what are those? Alright, let's start first with the function of this pituitary gland. So the pituitary gland secretes the number of hormones which controls function of several other endocrine glands. So meaning to say, this is the one that boss around other endocrine glands. So this is the boss. Alright, so this is the boss. Without the instruction from this organ, basically other endocrine glands will not function. But as I've said earlier, that the pituitary gland gets its instruction from the hypothalamus, which is part of the nervous system. Alright, so the pituitary gland secretes growth hormone, thyroid stimulating hormone, adrenocorticotropic hormone. So God, I will not say that one again. So ACTH for short. Next one, we have prolactin. Then we have endorphins. We have luteinizing hormone. So when we go to the reproductive system, you will know more about this luteinizing hormone, and also with the follicle stimulating hormone. So meaning to say that these hormones have their own target organs in the endocrine glands that will stimulate that gland to produce certain effects on a body. All right, next one. We have the one that is secreted on the posterior pituitary gland. So this is the melanocyte stimulating hormone, which controls the sleep and wake cycle of our body. Next one, the antidiuretic hormone. So the one that controls the water level in our body, so that we will not be able to so that our body will not be dehydrated in the long run. All right, so next one is the oxytocin. All right, or the cuddle or the love hormone, something like that. All right, so these are the hormones secreted by the posterior pituitary gland. Okay, so with that, let's go now to the organs that it controls. So by the way, before I forgot, please do remember that, or please do remember this pattern. So the pituitary gland will get its instruction from the hypothalamus. So we have the hypothalamic, pituitary, then after this one, whatever endocrine organ is targeted, that will complete the pathway of instruction in the endocrine system. So hypothalamic pituitary can be adrenal, can be thyroid. All right, so can be other endocrine organ axis. All right, so it follows this particular pattern. So again, an instruction from the hypothalamus will affect what will be the function of the pituitary gland. All right, so let's go now to the first organ, which is called the pineal gland. All right, so the pineal gland, it aids the body in the sleep cycle. All right, so the pineal gland is somewhere located here. Yan. So it is very small. Okay, and in some animals, they also have their pineal gland. So in some cases, this is considered to be their third eye somehow. Okay, and basically, this is a water-soluble. The hormone it secretes is a water-soluble melatonin. So basically, it cannot enter the cell membrane gracefully. So it will interact with the receptor outside the cell membrane. Alright, so what's its function? It regulates the modulation of sleep patterns. Alright, so next one. Next one is the thyroid and the parathyroid gland. Alright, so this is an endocrine gland which aids for growth, and also it aids for body's defenses. Alright, so as you can see here in this 3D image that we have, so the organ is somehow located on the neck. Alright, neck region, and the violet ones on this picture are the parathyroid gland. Okay, so as you can see here, it is connected to our throat. Okay, so alright, so in this diagram, we can see clearly that the parathyroid gland is the one embedded in the thyroid gland. Alright, so the thyroid is larger than the parathyroid glands. Alright, so in this dissected cut, so as you can see here, this is the thyroid gland, okay, connected to the larynx, alright, so or the throat of this organism. Okay, now what's the function of this thyroid gland? Now, the thyroid gland controls the rate of metabolism and influences physical development. So the changes that happens in our body is due to the presence of this hormone called THYROXIN, alright, or the T4, TRIIODOTHYRONINE, or the T3, and the calcitonin. Now, with the presence of these hormones, it triggers the growth and development of the organism. In some organisms, like the frog, the tadpole, or the body of the tadpole triggers the secretion of this thyroxine, and it allows the body of the tadpole to disintegrate the tail of the organism, so that when it grows to become a frog, so the frog is now tailless. All right, next one. All right, so the parathyroid hormone secretes the soluble parathyroid, or the parathyroid gland secretes the parathyroid hormone, and it is water-soluble hormone. All right, so now you should remember that the thyroid gland follows the pattern of H, or which is the hypothalamic, pituitary, thyroid axis. Alright, so please take note that the thyroid gland will not function on its own unless you have a disorder in this particular organ. It will get its instruction from the pituitary gland, and also the pituitary will get its instruction from the hypothalamus. So basically, if the hypothalamus detects that it's already time for you to develop, then it will do its function. It will release it will release a hormone. It will release a hormone that will instruct the pituitary gland, then the pituitary will release a hormone that will instruct the thyroid gland in the process. Alright, so remember the HPA, so that's a very long word, HPA. HPA means hypothalamic or hypothalamic pituitary thyroid axis. Alright, so HPTA. Okay, so next one is the thymus gland. Okay, so the thymus gland, or by the way, we'll just give another info on this one. Oversecretion of thyroxine is called hyperthyroidism. Alright, so we call that disease as the Graves' disease. Alright, so what is a Graves' disease? So I will give you one body effect, or effects on the body of this particular oversecretion of thyroxine. So the eyeballs will pop out. So if you can see some people who experience or who has this disease, their eyeballs popped out due to the oversecretion of thyroxine. Now, undersecretion of thyroxine or hypothyroidism is called goiter. Alright, so as you can see, the people with goiter have enlarged thyroid gland, so somewhere here. So they have missing one component, or one chemical in their body called iodine. Alright, so that's the goiter, right? So next one is the thymus gland. So this gland or this organ is designed for body's defenses. All right. So it is somewhere located in between the lungs, right, and anterior to the heart. Okay. So what it does is it stimulates the T-cell development. So if you're not familiar with T-cell is somehow is related to the formation of immune system defense. So it is related to the immune system. Alright, so if you are familiar with the white blood cells, yan, so the white blood cells, alright, so the white blood cells are part of the immune system. Therefore, these T cells aids to the development of body's defenses that will strengthen up these cells, yan, especially the white blood cells. And the name of the hormone is called thymosin. Alright, again, it is water soluble. Water soluble, thymosin. Alright, next one. We do have here the adrenal gland. So this is an organ in the endocrine system that is controlling your body during an emergency. Basically, it works hand in hand with the sympathetic nervous system, sympathetic division of the autonomic system. So as we recall that the sympathetic division is for fight or flight situation. So fight or flight situation, meaning to say that in this case, emergency situation. Alright, so the adrenal glands is located anterior to the kidneys. Yan. So they are very, very small. They are small, and somehow they secrete hormones that is needed by the body during stress. Alright, so if we take a look at an actual specimen of or actual organ, so it will look like this. So these are the adrenal glands. Alright, next one. Alright, so if we're going to dissect these adrenal glands, we have two different regions of it. So we have one, this is the adrenal cortex, and two, this is the adrenal medulla. So meaning to say that the hormone secreted by the adrenal cortex is different from the hormone secreted by the adrenal medulla. Alright, so let's go on that. So these are the hormones secreted by the adrenal medulla. So most of the time it secretes the epinephrine called the adrenaline in other books, and the norepinephrine or the noradrenaline is the other one secreted by the adrenal medulla. Basically, they are water soluble, and if you happen to encounter, norepinephrine is also a neurotransmitter. So I will repeat that a neurotransmitter can be a hormone depending on which organ it is used and for what purpose that particular chemical substance is used for. Alright, so next one is, what's the function of these hormones? It increases blood glucose, increases metabolic activity, and constricts certain blood vessels. So as you can see, that's the work of the sympathetic nervous system or sympathetic division. So during an emergency, your body will kick or your body will use a lot of sugar so that you will be able to do some impossible tasks like carrying heavy appliances during an emergency like fire and other stuff. Yeah. Alright, so it prepares or it allows your body to be ready to such emergency. So this is your stress. This is somehow the stress-related hormones. Alright, next one. The cortex secretes different hormone. This is the glucocorticoids, yan, so lipid soluble. So and the other one is another lipid soluble called mineralocorticoid. So hopefully you will be able to remember this long term that we have right here. So what is the difference? The glucocorticoids is somehow needed to stop body's inflammation. For example, you are doing some body workout. So in order to stop that inflammation, glucocorticoids kicks in and helps stop inflammation on the muscles. Next one, the mineralocorticoids, it is used by the kidneys to maintain the balance of salt and water. Alright, so meaning to say you cannot excrete more salt in the body, and also you cannot excrete more water in the body, so it should be balanced or else you will die of dehydration. Alright, so that is the adrenal medulla and adrenal cortex. So what are the effects of adrenaline? So we have increased blood glucose level, increased metabolic rate, increased heartbeat, constrict arteries in the skin, causes pupil to dilate to enhance vision, and contracts hair muscle. So are these sound familiar to you? So of course they sound familiar because they are the same as the function of your sympathetic division of the autonomic nervous system. Alright, so that's the adrenal gland. So alright, so by the way, the adrenal gland also follows certain axes. So please do remember this one. So again, it will start with the hypothalamus. So hypothalamic, pituitary. So again, that hypothalamus will instruct the pituitary gland to secrete the hormone that will target the adrenal gland. So hypothalamic, pituitary, adrenal axis. Alright, so during stress, this is the pattern that you should remember. So we called it HPA axis. Okay, so please take note that one. Hypothalamic, pituitary, adrenal axis. Alright, so we go now to the next organ, which is called the pancreas. So the pancreas is the one that controls the sugar metabolism of your body. So excess sugar is bad. Also with less sugar is also bad. Alright, so it maintains the body's sugar level. So this is the pancreas taken from a person. So as you can see, it is also small. I think this one is larger than the adrenal gland. Alright, but yet it is still small. Alright, next one. So the pancreas is located behind the small intestine that we have right here. This is the small intestine, and behind it is the pancreas. Alright, so above it is the liver. Alright, so somewhere here. So this is the liver, which is also an endocrine gland. Alright, so what its function? Its function is to control the amount of glucose in the body. Basically, it secretes insulin in its beta cells, and it secretes glucagon in its alpha cell. Now, what's the difference between the two? Now, if you have a lot of sugar, insulin is secreted. So, if your sugar level is too high, so we have the sugar level, sugar is too high, then the insulin is secreted. Meanwhile, if your sugar level is too low, then the glucagon is secreted. So, meaning to say, if you are hungry, and your body will have a tendency to secrete glucagon, so that your body will not experience what they call hypoglycemia or excessive hunger. Yan. So excessive depletion of sugar in the body. So that is bad as well. Alright, so there we go. So in the pancreas, there is what they call islets of Langerhans that secretes this insulin thing and then the glucagon thing. And the beta cells is the one that secretes the insulin, and it goes to the muscles. All right, it goes to the muscles, and the insulin acts like a key, and it turns on, or it is a key that unlocks the muscles' ability to absorb sugar in the bloodstream. Alright, so without insulin, the sugar that we have right here will accumulate in the bloodstream, and it will cause a disease called diabetes. Alright, so excessive sugar in the body will tend to trigger diabetes. Alright, so yeah, so without insulin, the sugar will not enter to the muscles and will be able to use by the muscles itself. So that's the function of your insulin. Now, somewhere here in the islets of Langerhans also secretes the glucagon. So it's not the beta cells, but it's the alpha cells of the islets of Langerhans. Alright, so we'll focus about the insulin. So in normal secretion of insulin, technically it decreases blood glucose. Alright, so normal secretion increase the uptake rate of the glucose by the cells, especially the muscles is the one that do this one. So the insulin will interact with the muscles, and the muscles will uptake the glucose. Next one, the liver will also will be stimulated to convert this extra glucose into glycogen. All right, so that's the fat version of this glucose that is found in the liver. Next one, another one is increased oxidation of glucose. So in this case is increased breakdown of glucose. All right, for metabolism. And also, as you break down glucose, as you recall, as you break down glucose, you release energy. Okay. Next one, lack secretion or inability to secrete insulin will have obviously the opposite one, inability to of the cells to store glucose. So the muscles will not be able to entertain this glucose in the bloodstream, so it will accumulate there. The body grows weak and loses weight, and the body will not be able to oxidize this fat. Instead, this particular fat will become an extra burden to the body. Instead of producing energy, it will accumulate on the body, especially in the liver. All right, so yan. So in any case, lack of secretion of insulin will be also will be bad for our body. All right, next one, over secretion of insulin also is bad. So it will lead to comatose if you take in a lot of insulin, if you are injecting insulin. All right, so abnormal decrease in blood glucose concentration. So sugar is very important in the body, so it must be maintained at normal levels at all costs. Next one, the low blood glucose concentration will result to insulin shock. Then if you happen to have an insulin shock, coma will follow. All right, so these are the effects of insulin in our body. All right, next one, the effects of glucagon is opposite to the insulin. All right, so example, if you are hungry and you have no time to eat, so you don't have to worry about that one because the pancreas have certain ways of overcoming this. So it will secrete glucagon. So I'm not telling you to be hungry always. So as much as possible, your body if you have the signs that your body is telling you to eat, so you eat immediately. But your body have its own way of counteracting this particular problem. It will secrete, or the pancreas will secrete glucagon, and what it does is it converts glycogen, the one on the liver, to glucose. So it tells us that the fat or the glycogen on the liver will be used to become glucose again, to be used by the muscles in order for you to get energy. Next one, in conversion of fats and other amino acids into glucose, right? So also with the conversion of lactic acid into glucose. All right, so these are the effects of glucagon, which if in case that your body is low or should I say having a low level of blood sugar. All right, so that's the effect. Okay, so with that's the pancreas. All right, so we go now to another special organ. All right, so what that we have right here. So why is it special? Because this is an organ also for reproduction. All right, so we called it, for the female, we called it the female gonads, named as ovaries. All right, so the ovaries are located on both sides of the reproductive system of the female, and it is responsible for the egg production and also responsible for the production of what they call estrogen and progesterone, which we'll talk about later. Alright, so there are two of them in the female reproductive system, and alternately it functions the same thing. Alright. So if we take an actual look of the ovary, so we can say that somehow it's large enough. Yeah. All right. So what it does is control the egg production. So without the help of the hypothalamus, so without the help of the hypothalamus, there will be uncontrolled egg production in the female reproductive system. Again, before the hypothalamus, we have the pituitary. Then the pituitary will secrete a hormone that targets this secretion. So the secretion of this ovary, or the hormone secreted by the ovary, is called the lipid-soluble estrogen and progesterone. Alright, so it helps, or these two These two hormones helps the female body to produce egg cells and at the same time develop secondary characteristics like widening of hips, development of breasts, and other stuff. Alright, so that is the ovaries. Next one is the testes. So the testes is the male counterpart of ovary, and it is somehow located inside the scrotum, so it is protected by a scrotum, and it is outside the body. Unlike the ovary is located inside the female's body, and while the testes is located outside of the male's body. Alright, so this is the testes of a person with somehow a hernia. Yeah. Okay. Excuse me for that. Alright, so this is the testes. So other parts of the reproductive system of the male, so is somewhere here. Alright, so inside the testes, it aids the production of the sperm cell. Alright, so with the help of the pituitary gland and the hypothalamus, it will be able to produce a hormone called testosterone. Alright, so the sperm cell is deposited here or is created here and then deposited to the center of this cell. And then eventually it will be brought out of the body. Alright. Now, what it does is control the sperm cell production and develop the secondary male characteristics. So, what are these secondary male characteristics? Or these secondary characteristics are deepening of voice. Yan. Another one is hair growth in some genital parts. Yan. Alright, so muscle development. Yan. So those are some secondary characteristics in male. Now, the only hormone that is secreted by the testes is the lipid-soluble testosterone. Alright, so we called it androgen. Yeah. Alright, so with the presence of testosterone, it triggers the sperm production and the secondary characteristics in male. Right, so let's go. Alright, so that is for the testes. Okay, so with that, so today in this discussion, you have learned about the endocrine system, the parts and function of the endocrine system. Then we talked about also that the glands or the endocrine glands is the one that produces hormones in the endocrine system. Alright, so and also these hormones are not created equal. There are hormones that are water soluble, which means that they cannot enter freely on the cell membrane, and also there are lipid soluble, and these hormones can enter freely in the cell membrane. Alright, so we also talked about the pattern on how some endocrine glands work, like the adrenal glands. So it follows the HPA axis and stress response. Alright, next one, the chemical homeostasis, how the hormones balances every imbalance that is found in your body. And without the help of the hypothalamus, which detects this imbalance, you will not be able to overcome what they call homeostasis. Alright, so next one, hormonal cascade. So we talked about how hormones, alright, so how the hypothalamus secretes something. So the hypothalamus secretes something that triggers other organs like the hypothalamus, pituitary, and other organs in the endocrine system. Alright, so we called it the hormonal cascades. Alright, so cascades. Next one is the another pattern called the hypothalamic pituitary thyroid axis. So it talks about the pattern used in how the thyroid gland secretes its thyroxin hormone. Alright, so which is necessary for growth. Alright, so basically, these are the things that we have learned about the endocrine system. So before, as I end my discussion here on this video, so the ultimate purpose of this endocrine system is to maintain your body's homeostasis. Any imbalances on the body will be any imbalance will lead to the death of that certain organism. So it must be always balanced, which is called in biological term homeostasis. Chemical substance must be balanced in the body in order for you to survive. Alright, so with that ends up our discussion with the endocrine system, and I hope you did learn something from this one. If you do have any question, you just write or type it down to the comment section of this video. Alright, so that is, and don't forget to smile, alright? That ends up our discussion. Goodbye and have a nice day.